You just reminded me. Here we go. So you're just going to click on the A priority on the homepage. And then you're coming into the SSI. And then you're going to hit start new case. Actually, this is not it either. Hold on 1 second, guys. This is not right.
Yeah, that looks like mutual.
And this is why I say get used to it. Hold on. Oh, there it is. I didn't realize I had a bar. You got to go to the E-app, A priority and Silverguard in Spade. Click on that, and then you'll know you're in the right spot. It always makes you hit the acknowledge when you see it's got start pre-app, because you have to do a pre-app on this one. So if you don't have that start pre-app, you're not in the right spot. That's how I was
So
like, oh,
this
we're
is
not in the right spot.
so in Baltimore Life, this is the product we're using, A priority.
So A priority comes up usually. I provide also comes up for them, but the A
Okay.
provide it's proprietary. So not everybody has access to this. So our team
Okay.
does. So that's why it's in its own special area.
Is
Because
this the one that gives a soft decline if they,
yep,
okay,
yeah. See, and make sure you answer the right. Like they're really easy to work with too. Like, I was like, how did she get declined? She was green lined, and Jason's like, I don't know, but it says decline. I'm like, you need to call them. Something's up. He called, and they're like, answer 13. You answered yes to a medical question, and it had to be no. And he was like, what was the question? He's like, that was my mistake. He's like, that was supposed to be no. And they were like, we might be able to just do a phone interview with her to correct that. They're pretty easy to work with. But you do the pre-app, it's pretty simple. I mean, it's really simple. This is the one they trained us on when we were in Orlando at the house on the big screen. So you only need the last 4 of their social, you just pick the state. You put no, you're not face to face with your client. And this is all the information you need. You just need their first name, last name, date of birth, how tall they are, the last 4 of their social, the state they were born in, their weight, their male, female, phone number, and then it sends them a text. They like the HIPAA, just like SBLI used to.
Mhm.
And then it comes back, you'll see the screen will change, and then it'll tell you it's either going to have green, and it says good across the board. Basically, it lists that they have 2 other products. It has a term product that we don't have access to and a UL that we don't have access to. And it'll tell you how much your client's qualified for. It'll say they're qualified for up to 70 or 80,000 or the full 150,000. But keep in mind, if you go over 75,000, if you do 75,000 and $1, they need a medical exam now. So try to keep it under 75, which is still high for a whole life. And then once it does that, then it'll give you, I was trying to go back to the other screen. You can see, yeah, they get a policy ID number. Well, on their pre-apps. I don't know if any of mine are still going to show up since we did the apps. Yeah, they give them a pre-app numbers. Then when you go to do the e-app, you have to copy this number and put it in the e-app. See, it won't even let you proceed unless you do a pre-qualification, because they don't want you getting declines. They don't want you declining people.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, so if he was like flagged as a red where he's not gonna, and I tried to do it, it says stop we tried. Stop, your guy doesn't qualify. So it's basically like, yeah, nice try, but no.
Well, then it's not gonna log a decline on their system either, you know?
Yeah, and you don't
Yeah.
want you don't want to get a decline on people's records, because some carriers are funny about that. Like Mutual of Omaha, I know their term plan, one of their qualifying questions is, have you ever been declined by another carrier? The
Mhm.
minute you check yes, now you have a strike, and you get so many strikes, and that's how they determine. It's a point system because it's an algorithm. So you're automatically putting points against them. So the quoting tool, I'm going to go over just like some role play, like questions. And then we'll kind of have some of you guys role play together too, just to get comfortable. And I say, it's going to be uncomfortable, but that's why we were doing it, to get the uncomfortable part out. Like I will say, Steve, Kevin was much better today role playing, because I called
Oh,
him out
good.
yesterday. I was like, Kevin, I spent time with you the other night and I gave you all the questions, told you to learn these, and here you are. You did not take the time over the weekend to do it. He's like, yeah, you're right. Today, when he was put in the hot
Yeah.
seat, he was able to properly ask the right questions. I was like,
He was,
much better.
he was fixing toilets over the weekend.
Oh no, that's a crappy job, literally.
Literally, yes.
Ting.
Can he fix pipes? Because we're still fixing, our guys are still fixing air pipes up there.
Yeah,
Buy a second house, I
my,
said, it'll be fun.
that big, that snowstorm that went
write-off.
through on Friday, in Traverse City, my mom lost her furnace, the pump went out. So she woke up Friday morning to
Oh.
6 inches of snow and no heat. And, luckily the bless his heart, the neighbor next door takes care of her with dad gone. So he's a builder. He called his furnace guy and he
Came
was
right
over there in a couple hours and installed the pump and she had heat by 1 o'clock. So
Oh, good. Yeah,
it
because it
was
gets
good,
cold up
but
there fast.
mhm.
So I'm gonna pick on Joy just because she's new.
She's
Don't
like,
worry, you get to be the client. So I'll be the agent. You're gonna be the client. So I'm gonna ask you qualifying questions and you can have fun with it or you can answer it to yours however you want. That way it's real time. I have no idea what she's gonna say. So I'm gonna pretend like I'm calling you about the first responder to get you life insurance, and this is my initial call. So it's like, okay, ring ring. Hey Joy, is this Joy?
Yes,
Hey Joy, this is Misty with the First Responder Program, the life insurance you requested for first responders. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I am good. Thanks for asking. I'm just sorry, I didn't mean to catch you off guard either. I'm just calling real quick. I need to gather your birthday. That way I can start working on some of your options. Can I get your birthday from you?
11/8/81.
Scorpio, nice. Yep. That's another reason why I wanted to use her. Her birthday's the day after mine. Perfect. Thank you for that, Joy. I just have to ask just a couple of real quick basic questions. That way I can get you the most accurate information. 'Cause I don't want to send you the wrong information. Do
Okay.
you have any history of any heart, stroke, cancer, any issues there in the past?
No,
Perfect. We're off to a good start. Let's keep it going. Are you diabetic by chance?
no,
Perfect. Doing good. Doing real good for your age. Any prescriptions that you take daily?
yes.
Okay. What are we working with?
Gabapentin,
Gabapentin, okay.
glucosamine,
Now, is the gabapentin, is that for pain or like neuropathy? What do you take that one for?
for pain,
Pain, okay. And then
meloxicam,
meloxicam, that's a muscle relaxer, right?
yeah.
Okay.
Klonopins,
Okay. What's that one for?
anxiety.
Anxiety, okay. There's so many, I always say, I don't know who, first of all, I don't know who ever figured out how you're going to spell all these and name them, but those are evil people. 'Cause
Yeah.
Some of them I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Thankfully, we have a tool I can kind of put it in and it'll fill the rest of the blank in for me. I feel like I missed one. After you said gabapentin, what was the second one?
Did you get meloxicam?
I got, yep, gabapentin,
Gabapentin.
meloxicam, and clopins.
clozapine.
Clozapine, okay.
I can't even pronounce
It's the
it.
same thing.
Okay,
It's just a generic.
perfect, okay.
Glucosamine.
That was
Glucosamine,
one.
okay. Is that for diabetes?
Nope.
What's that one for?
Degenerative disc disease.
Okay. That's where I've heard it before. I think my husband takes that. Okay.
I'm missing Palmacort,
And what's that one for?
asthma,
Asthma, okay.
and Pro Air. That's my emergency inhaler.
All right.
And that's as much as I can remember at the moment.
All right, that gives me something to work with. Perfect. And then roughly how tall are you?
5'2".
5'2", you're my size. Perfect. You're fun size, as I say. We're not short, we're fun size. And then roughly how much do you weigh?
169.
169. Perfect. Okay, you got great build. Awesome. Any other like surgeries or anything I need to know about like the last 3 years?
Yes, I just recently, last November, had a bladder sling placed.
Okay. Bladder sling.
Anything else in the last 2 years? I think that's it in the last 2 years.
Perfect. Okay. Gotcha. And do you have a rough ballpark how much coverage you're looking for? Or
500,000.
500? Okay. And did you have that like a certain like set amount, like 500,000? Or are you trying to make sure like you're paying off a mortgage, or how do we come up with 500,000?
Well, as of now, I'm the breadwinner
Okay.
and I got a kid and a big husband.
Gotcha. Got a kid and a big husband. Okay. Gotcha. All right. So you want to make sure if something happened to your husband and you're obviously, well, as parents, we want to make sure our kids are taken care of.
Yes.
I'm a mom and a wife myself, so I totally get that one. Just want to make sure, like, I know some people they see like, oh, I can go up to 500,000 or a million, and they're like, I want the whole thing, but I don't want to overinsure you. I don't want, want to keep as much money in your pocket, especially with this inflation as I can. So I didn't want to.
I surely want to make sure I can afford it as well.
Yep, and we will definitely go over that too, because the last thing I want to do is put you in a plan that you tell me 6 months down the road, hey, I like this, but I can't afford it, because
Right.
I've had scenarios where, yep, that happened. And then in that 6 months, that person's had like a heart attack. And then they're like, I'll come back in a couple months. I'm like, oh, no, no, no. What? I don't cut dinner, cut Starbucks, cut whatever you got to cut, but you can't cut this because you had a heart attack 2 months ago. We
Right.
can't get you back in this plan. We're going to go from 500,000 to 25,000 graded in that scenario. So the last thing I want to do is do that to you. So yeah, when I have all your options, we will definitely pick one that, works for your budget and your needs both.
Thank you.
Perfect. I'm going to go ahead and start working on this. I'm going to shoot it all over in an email to you. Here, it'll be later today. And when I send it, I'll also send you a text. That way, I've sent the email, and I'll include my email in the text. That way, if it goes to spam, sometimes it'll do that if I include any video or links for you. You can go and search by my email and find that email. Do you have any questions for me?
No, ma'am.
Perfect. What do? Are you fire? Are you police?
I'm an insurance agent.
No, you're playing a role.
You're an insurance agent.
What do you
Oh,
want me to put? I mean,
that's okay. Nope, you're good.
fire. Oh, he said, tell you I'm fire.
You're fire? Perfect. Thanks for your service. I'm married to a fireman myself. I could never do what you guys do.
My pleasure.
I understand it's more medical calls than it is actual fires. And I know that, at the end of the day, when your shift is over, what's going on in your head isn't. So I'm surprised you're not on any anxiety meds. That's a big thing when you're dealing with fire and police both. They're almost all on at least one anxiety kind of med or something to help sleep, because they see very disturbing scenes throughout the day.
That's what the clozapine is for.
They could literally like do a death call, and then 30 minutes after that call be toned right back out to the next emergency and don't have time to process. So when their shift, is done, then it all kind of registers in their mind. And I was literally on a call with a guy who got toned out to that school bus that happened in Texas just this past week, that concrete truck, if you saw. I was like, oh my God, I was on the phone with a guy who got called. He's like, I gotta go. There was a school bus and a truck that just collided. And he's actually the guy whose wife has the laundry list of medical stuff.
Wow. Small world,
Wow.
huh?
Yeah. He was on that call, and I keep seeing the emails come through from my Yahoo and the updates, and I just saw the little boy that was like the pre-K, and I was like, I know that's impacting that guy, that he was on that call. Because before that, he was literally telling me when we were going over some of his anxiety meds, yes, how he was ran call, and losing children are always the hardest calls, because they work them like effortlessly as if they were their own kids, but sometimes it's not enough. So sorry. Then I get to come home and my husband tells me about it. It's like, if you know him, he's that very straightforward kind of guy. So to hear him like struggle with that, I know what our guys deal with. So always acknowledge when they give you an anxiety med. Hey, I get it. We deal with a ton of that goes a long way. That line, acknowledging. It's not that these guys need ego boosts, but they want acknowledgement. Most of the time they're call after call, and they're dealing with not the most pleasant society people. Think about it. When you're in pain, you're not the nicest person. When you're sick, you're not the nicest person. When you're, when you're dealing with they're just not always the nicest people that they're dealing with. So they don't want to deal with people a lot of times. So sometimes they come across really dry and just like grouchy. That's just them. So the sooner you realize that's nothing personal, And the sooner you can get in and just give them that little kudo to get that in, you're gonna be golden. That's what sets you aside from everybody else who's trying to understand how to work a first responder. And that'll go a long ways.
So when we were beginning of last week and GTL was on with us and we
Mhm.
were talking about them having no problem with first responders. And yet we've got this anti-anxiety medication that we're going to put down.
Yep.
Do you think that that's going to kick them back?
Well, let's just
Or
see.
I think it does. I was gonna tell you, when I was talking with that doctor, she said her daughter's in dental school at University of Michigan right now, and she's taking Adderall, for studying and cut the this and that. And I think I was playing around with it, and I think I put Adderall in, and I think it kicked them.
So
It
yeah,
asked
for
if-
GTL, yep, Prosperity will take them, but not, yeah, because we put Adderall in for somebody else with Kevin earlier today. Is this, it's clozapine, right?
clonazepam?
Clonazepam, see. Like I said, whoever
CLO,
CAL,
CLO,
And
NEZ.
right here.
Nope, NEZ. There you go.
There you
there
go.
you go.
See, whoever, so okay. So I don't like how they give you panic disorder, restless leg, or seizures. So
I have both restless leg and panic disorder,
we're
but
just
it's for the panic.
all right. And when was
You're
your
not
first
alone.
when was your first prescription?
My first prescription,
Like
2010.
2010? Perfect. Okay. So let's just see. Let's say that that's the only thing she has.
Misty on that. What if they don't know when they were first diagnosed? What do you put? Do you guess? Do you?
I tell
their
them, just
best-
estimate. Do you think it's been more than 2 years? More than 4
Okay.
years?
Okay.
Because if it's within 2 years, it's even worse. Anytime you're on an anxiety med and it's within the first 2 years, it takes a minute to balance find out what works. So, and this is why sometimes you got to drill down too, because like I only know this from when we took in our teen girl, and she was on antidepressants and anxiety meds. Like if you look at her MIB, it looks like she's on 12 meds, but she's on 2, but they have to find out what works and what doesn't work. And she was not good about taking them, so she wasn't compliant, so it was even worse. So like it looks like she has a ton of medications, but she's only on 2. But it'll ask you like if it's been within the first 2 years too. Like if you put, then it drops down, has even more questions. So yeah, so she can't do GTL. So right now, so just that one prescription right there does send her to Prosperity she can do. But hold on, we also have her. Let's do her actual weight. All right. Let's try to keep it as real as possible. So
The H2.
did I get you? Oh yeah.
11/8 of 81.
Yeah, that does make a difference too. Still only got Prosperity, but better rate. So now if say we start adding some of her other stuff, like gabapentin's another one that they hate seeing, because usually like, so if we put gabapentin in, we would have selected restless leg syndrome. It's probably going to automatically assume she's a diabetic with neuropathy, because those kind of go hand in hand. So because it's asking me, what is, and that's why as soon as she mentioned, I was like, so are you on that for pain or what are you on that for? She said pain. So I'm just going to do regular pain. Roughly, how long have you been on that?
About 6 years now.
That's 6 or
So what's that?
You'll say 2018.
Yeah.
Let's see if she can still do Prosperity. Okay. We haven't got knocked out yet. Now we add meloxicam. Jason takes this, so I know that this one is, I knew. I'm telling you, whoever.
I think it's ME.
MEL.
There
There
it
it
Yeah,
is.
is.
there it is.
Pain.
And that is usually, I take that for anti-inflammatory.
Yep. So that's what his is, anti-inflammatory from his car accident.
Mine too.
This is the one, so I think she's still good there. Yep. But I think this one here is probably going to knock her out, her asthma medicine.
Pulmicort.
And Misty, on that one, are you, with this
PUL.
quoting to it, is it more important to just keep putting in the prescriptions they're
There it is.
taking versus a specific health condition? You just don't use that health condition one up there?
Well, you're going to get more accurate information from the prescriptions than you are the health condition.
Okay.
Because the prescriptions, a lot of these carriers have knockout prescriptions. How long have you been on the asthma medicine?
Same.
Same? Okay.
Yeah.
So usually like when I would be qualifying, because she's on the call here, but normally I would also be asking roughly how long have you been on this? Like when I hear asthma. And yeah, see now she no longer qualifies for term. Asthma can be a big knockout because you got to think of it as the carrier's perspective. That's a respiratory issue. So anytime you're talking about the heart and the lungs, high risk. You know, which is silly though, because I know people who have had asthma since we were kids and they've never had a major asthma attack. It's crazy.
Yep.
But you can thank all the people who aren't honest when they apply for stuff. That's why that they don't consider it. So now we have to, I know right here, I got to pivot. So if I was on real life, like if I didn't let her off and say, I'll get these over to you, I'd be like, well, preliminary, we have to go final expense for you. Because, and now at Symmetry, based on her age, she's only 42 years old. I'd be dead in the water.
Mhm.
I could sell her an accident plan. That's it.
Yeah.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, because you
Too
had to be
young.
45
Too young.
to
Yep.
get in the whole
Got it.
life over there. So now over here,
If
I can get her at least 75,000 with no medical exam still.
That's amazing because I had a gabapentin that I can sign right now if friend of mine wants that, but she's on gabapentin for neuropathy. Very encouraging, and that price point she can totally afford.
Yeah.
Change it to female.
Yep. And then we're gonna do that. She doesn't have COPD. Let's get up that. Let's get her off of that. Let's put her same. It's her gabapentin pain. 2017. Let's say we're gonna go her.
It's too bad it doesn't bring forth everything that you were working on before.
Yeah.
CLO.
CLO. There you go. Oh, that's close enough.
No,
See, now
that's
this
not.
one, it
Oh,
only
No,
gives me-
that's not, no,
That's
No,
not
it's
right.
clonazepam, that's
Okay, I was
psychotic.
like, whoa. I was like,
Yeah.
Somebody has got my you went from and whole life you're
Don't do
just
that.
straight, you know, you went from like, hey, and little anxiety to you're psychotic.
Just a
And how long were
I
you
might be, they just ain't caught
hospitalized?
me yet.
CLO.
CLONAZ,
There it is.
there it is.
Pam, the end of Pam. One
Down,
down.
one more,
Yep, this
there
one I
you
got.
go.
There we go.
We're trying to find Pam.
There you go. Think of it that way, yeah. This is forcing me to get more familiar, yeah, with my prescriptions because I'll be the first to tell you I was not good at I never really asked prescriptions in
ME.
the past.
Mel,
Mel. M-E. There you
there
go.
you go.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's her other one? The Palm
The Pulmicort?
Pulmicort, PU.
PU.
L.
L,
There it is.
pulmonary,
There
just
we
think
go.
pulmonary.
Yeah. Actually,
Yeah, because that was going to kick us out, right?
yeah. I hate that it has chronic.
Probably the number of years.
Do you take a nebulizer at all? When you
No.
use that? Nope. Okay. Perfect.
Gabapentin,
Pro Air.
clonazepam, glucosamine. That's it. Glucosamine.
One time, I'm assuming. And then, yep, there was the one more, the glucosamine.
So it'd be good to take a screenshot of this
And Flexeril.
If you have this many, so you're ready to pivot.
Where is your glucosamine?
Yeah, that's a good one, Linda, because it doesn't
SA.
copy it over.
No, it doesn't copy it over, so
M-I-N-E.
screenshot it real quick and
Oh,
why isn't it
no, that's
showing?
not the right one. Hold
No,
on.
it's not showing up.
There's another name for it. Hold on. It's on the
GL.
tip of my tongue.
Can you find my glucosamine bottle?
Was like an over the counter.
Hold on.
I think
for
so.
Points, you know?
I think it's
The generic-
CLO. It's on the counter, babe.
It's glucosamine chondroitin generally.
For a joint pain.
I see glucosamide.
Hold on, he's getting my bottle.
Chondroitin.
All right. And then
Yeah.
The spreadsheet in alphabetical order of all these drugs.
Glucosamine. It's usually
Should be a tall bottle.
chondroitin.
Gluco, delete the L.
delete the L.
Yeah. O. S-A.
M-I-N-E.
Yeah, it's not. Oh, no, it's not pulling that one up.
Not coming up.
Put space. Start typing CHON. And DROTIN.
Chondroitin.
Cluster.
Oh, no, cholecystramine. Nope, 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 nope.
I
Mm,
thought that was like over the counter.
It is, it's in a
Milligram is,
supplement for like osteoarthritis.
yeah.
You can't even see it. It gets too blurry when I try to push it up.
Well, it doesn't seem to really care about that one, so let's just see what she comes up.
That's usually a,
Oh,
Was
are you in one of
it
those-
prescribed? It had to be
Yes.
prescribed.
All right, so
Someone
she
who put
can't, she
dosage.
doesn't qualify for Baltimore Life, so I can't go up to 75,000 with her. So, but I know, we're gonna try for 40,000.
man, I really like that. The
So I
addition
can go
of,
to Lafayette Life as my first one. Cool thing, if
Oh.
I say I don't want to sit there and quote a bunch of different things, you can click on this and
Right.
compare. Now I can do 30,000, 20,000, 10,000.
wow.
So I don't have to run that 3 times, and I have all my rates.
That's
Oh, look
cool.
at that.
Nice.
That's nice.
Pretty snazzy.
Yep.
Oh,
So this is what you're gonna want
life
to use.
is
And you can see it's pretty accurate. Like,
Mhm.
you know, looking at Joy, she's, like 7 years younger than me. I think she's young and healthy. So, this is why we got to drill down. Her build, no problem. But then when we dive in, and it was that asthma medicine that knocked her out. As soon as I put that asthma in, nope. Suddenly you were no longer in any term.
There's a little save button down there underneath quotes, so you probably can save all those meds.
Yeah, good call, Linda. I haven't even checked that out yet.
You go, girl.
Drug lookup. I haven't.
I would like to go, girl.
Same.
Sheesh.
Same.
So
Dang.
Missy, in that right there, if for like the asthma, you wouldn't even bother in putting that in as a health condition, putting asthma there. You just, I
I mean, I
mean,
could try. I could try to just take off this and take all that off and go asthma, and let's just see.
SDH, mild. See,
Is it
mild.
mild?
Mild.
Date of your last treatment is, I mean,
I take it every day.
right, that's what I figured. Do you don't use a nebulizer? You already answered that. You ever use an inhaler? You have your
Yes.
Pro Air, but when's the last time you used it?
Oh, it's been so long. But I still have it filled because just in case. But the reason I had asthma was because I smoked
Mm,
and I don't smoke anymore. So I really don't have it, but
Right.
I'm afraid of an asthma attack. So I'm still gonna take that
Take it.
medicine.
And we still have to answer yes, because it says, has the prospect ever used an inhaler? So because she has it, yes. did she take 3 or more?
Oh,
She takes
There's a
2,
qualifying
right?
question.
Right.
Mhm.
So let's see if we just put that in there. Now she does come up for Baltimore Life.
For
But then when I put that
$66.
medication in though, it's gonna knock her right
Yeah.
back off. And they're gonna see that medication. This is why,
Yeah, the MIB is gonna come up.
yeah, because she takes it daily, so it's gonna pull that up. So this is why I'm more leaning towards get the prescriptions. Because if I was only going off the actual health, she
Yeah, if we say what we want, if we say what we're gonna do for this, to Adam, then doing the prescription way is probably the best way to go. That way we can find the right product and get it sold.
I wonder if I put asthma chronic because that was the thing. If it would have gave her the same result. It did.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
But the minute we put the medication in, it knocked her out.
Well, the gabapentin might have also been part of it too.
PUL.
PUL.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna have to jump
Us.
off.
First one.
First
Okay.
one.
Linda, I'll send you the recording, hun.
Fabulous.
Linda.
This is great. I'm so
Bye.
excited.
Bye, Linda.
I did get American National today. Woohoo!
There you go.
One more. All right, guys.
Yeah,
Thank
see,
you.
Baltimore Life got knocked
Bye.
out as soon as I put that in.
Cause you
Took
put in the chronic, or no, cause you put the
When I put
prescription
the
in.
prescription in, and the prescription's what they're gonna look at, because that's gonna show up on our MIB.
Is it possible? So say you run this through and you scroll down and you see the choices that are there. Is it now going to give you choices for say, for example, I don't have Royal Arcanium. Is it going to give you that opportunity to write on that carrier?
No, because we don't have that one. That's not one. I don't know why that's, and I'll probably go and take like that one. There's a couple. I just didn't want people going and taking them out. Like Aetna, we're not using. I can take them out. Aflac, we're not using. I just don't want people going in here and removing stuff because
Oh
somebody
yeah.
removed they removed GTL and Prosperity the one day, and Jason's like, "What are these? My guy should qualify for this." And I'm like, "That's weird. Yeah, he should be qualified."
So if it does pop up, we just pop down to the ones that we're qualified with.
Yep, just go to the ones that you can use. Like Oxford, we don't use them. Pekin, I don't even know what that is.
You can. It's a nod.
Trinity Life, I don't know what that is. We're not really using that Royal. Yeah, I don't even know what that one is. We're not using the SPLI Living Legacy.
Boy, I bet they're hurting right now.
Yeah, Lincoln Heritage, no, we don't have them. I have to stop and think. I'm like, we got so many new carriers. I'm like, is that one of our new ones? Yeah, I didn't take it out probably because I already ran the quote for this one. But yeah, just scroll down. Like, you have Lafayette Life. That's one of ours. So go to Lafayette. You'll get Americo back. I'm not a fan of Americo to begin with. Just because, look at the difference in the rates. And then I was trying to think what we did for the example. The guys wanted to compare Mutual of Omaha. So I think we did the COPD. That's why.
And that's funny you say that about America too, because I know our competition, all the guys I know over at Family First, they swear, but that's all they use is Americo for the most part.
That's
So if
because,
they're
yeah, Family
if-
First Life, that's the one they get paid the most on.
Yeah,
Their
so if they're
highest
using
one.
if they're using them, you just showed on that quote, apples to apples, we can kill their rate.
Yeah, that's literally what I just did with those symmetry guys. Nope, she hasn't been in. I'm just answering. I think I showed you guys it too. No, we must use different Medico, but I think I showed you early, like when we first jumped on here, how we were up here and their Mutual of Omaha was down there with
Like way down.
whatever. Yeah, and theirs was graded and ours was regular. And then you got Great Western too. That's your guaranteed issue, but they're not just guaranteed issue. They also have a preferred and a standard. So, it just depends. Like, I wonder why she didn't come up for Baltimore Life. I wonder, I bet it's your state. I'm trying to look because some of these,
I
why
like how it tells you why. Yeah, they're
within the last 2 years. Oh, did I select that she was within 2 years for that? Maybe that's why.
I was wondering if that's what that Pulmicort was for, because Pulmicort sometimes is something that's used to treat COPD.
We did pass 2 years. I don't know why it's saying. Yeah, COPD should pull up for, 'cause that was one of Baltimore Life. That was one of their thing is,
still coming up as 326, but
I put that for date of her last treatment because usually they're on something.
gotcha.
Yeah, let me,
That might be it too, because down below, didn't it say treatment within the past two to 3 years?
yeah, it said if treated with or with diagnosed in the last 2 years, but no. 0. No. It's got to be something I hit because COPD is the one they used as an example when they gave us that they,
Mhm.
it's got to be something I have in here. Maybe Bill?
Might be.
No? They say your bill's not bad. I was like, oh, you know what? It might be, I think you have to have 50,000 minimum for them. No? And this is why I say get in here and play around.
In Misty, with that, when she said that she has smoked before, do you have to go now back over to the nicotine use and click anything in there? Because she told you, or
No, I mean, how long ago did you quit smoking?
3 years ago.
So no, I would put she's not a smoker.
Okay.
And some of the carriers that will ask, if you're ever in the last, like the lady that Jason wrote yesterday, that one, that was huge. That's where it came down to. I quoted her 278 on Saturday. And then when he ran the app, he brought me his laptop and it was saying 312. And he's like, what the heck? And I was like, I don't know, you did something wrong. It was 278. And then he's like, for a smoker, and I'm like, she did not tell me she was a smoker. Most of our first responders are not smokers because they know the repercussions of smoking. So most of them are not smokers. So I don't tend to ask those usually. Usually, and the ones that are, they'll tell you, hey, I'm a smoker. So that was, and he started to do, we have 2 options. I can keep you at the 312 a month, and she goes, no, just keep it at the 312. That's fine. It was like, or I was going to tell you, if you need to stay at the 278, I can lower your coverage a little bit. She's like, nope, 312 is comfortable. Just keep it there. I was like, there you go. So that's what I told the group this morning. Also, don't prejudge your clients. You don't know what their budget is. You don't know what their situation is. Blaine over, at Symmetry, the one app he wrote was 7,200. The lady was 72 years old. It was a 10-year term through AMAM. I was shocked that she got approved. But I was like, is she really paying like $800 a month for her insurance? And he goes, I told her, and she said, honey, I know how much I have in the saving and I anticipate how long I'm going to live. And it makes more sense for me to drain my savings and make sure that my kids get, I think it was 200,000, to get 200,000, then they get what's in my savings. She goes, so yep, I can afford it. She goes, it's going to be coming out of my savings. And I was like, well, I guess, yeah, that is one way to look at it too. She was smart. She looked at it as her own life as an investment. She didn't anticipate to
I
live
was
past
always
10 years.
told by one of my first bosses, he goes, don't, it's their money. It's not your checkbook. Okay. So don't assume. And I'm like, there's no way she's going to afford this. And
Yeah, that was like a
no
$4,000
problem.
app that we closed. And I mean, or maybe it was like 3,800. I think our payout's like 4,200, but it was still like one app. Like,
It's nuts.
and that was a lady that, she came through as an app or as a lead from Facebook. probably about 5 months ago. I pitched her Mutual of Omaha, and paired with an accidental, and then she came back to me randomly and was like, "Hey," and what it was is she's a paramedic. She lost someone on a call. It's usually a good eye opener for them that they're like, "Oh shit," it makes them start thinking of themselves. And she reached out to me and she was like, "It's 40,000 the most I can get." She's like, "Cause I'm willing to pay more if I can get more level coverage and just drop the accidental." And I was like, "Actually, we just got a new carrier and you can go up to 75,000." I'm like, "You can go up to 150, but if I keep you under 75, we don't have to do a medical exam." And I was like, the 150, I was like, it's gonna be like it was like 378 a month. And she was like, "I'm looking at the 75 to avoid the medical." And I was like, "Okay." And then she was like, "I'm on shift today, but let's get together on Monday." She was like, "I'm going to talk it over with my wife over the weekend." She's like, "But I'm pretty sure we're going to do the 75,000. Jason called her yesterday when I was doing, calling new leads. And next thing I know, he was right in the app. And she sent us a thank you email. She was like, "Thank you again for etching out the time and being so speedy and, covering those Florida guys." She was like, she was great. I was like, it's like you just spent like 300 a month that she's thanking us. We're like, "Thank you." um, you know, and it's nice that we were able to help her. I mean, she was just diagnosed with AFib last year. So,
Well, that's good. I've got a question. I've got a sister-in-law that said, "Hey, I got to talk to you," but she wants final expense, but she's diagnosed. She said she's bipolar. Is that going to be? Do
let's
I
take
get
a
any
look.
chance in hell?
So bipolar. So we're gonna come over here. And this is where you're gonna have to find out what medications she's on.
Right, because
Do
I
we
know
know when
she
she
went.
was diagnosed bipolar?
Yeah, I mean, she's under control now, but it was probably 10 years ago,
Okay, so we're gonna put
probably 8, 10 years ago, because we moved her from Arizona to Michigan. And I know she was bad at one time, and she went through a series of, until, like you said, until they got her cocktails right. Now she's only on a couple of medicines, but I don't know what they are.
So
But
without her medications, but just bipolar, she's still in there with Baltimore Life at standard. But
you just put it in as a health condition.
it's a health condition, but you're gonna want them to get the medications just because. Let's Google what Diane, you work with medications. What's a popular bipolar medication?
Oh,
What's
God. Buspar,
Buspar? I'm like just trying to think of one.
Can't see the screen if you're sharing it.
Oh, sorry.
yeah, let me Google. I don't know. I was
What's
ENT.
that?
Buspar.
Buspar.
Buspar, Buspar. There you go.
It's the big one.
Yeah,
Um,
that's the big one, Buspar.
Big one. Okay, so let's just go with that one. Let's see if we put that in, if it knocks her out. Nope, she can still go
lithium.
lithium. Yeah, I think-
Haloperidol, HALO.
That's another one. Yeah,
PRI. Yeah, lithium is a big one.
yeah.
Bipolar.
Haldol's
Right.
pretty good. too.
African blow dart.
Haldol.
Haldol.
Sorry, I don't
African
want to put her on
blow.
too many. I put her on too many. So when I added the lithium, that took her off. So let me see if it's because I
Yeah.
had two or if it's just the lithium.
The lithium is a very, very heavy dose medication, so that wouldn't surprise me. Lithium
Yeah,
is
so lithium knocked her out.
Those
Yeah.
Haldol.
The first one didn't, but the lithium knocked her out. What was the other one? You said something about it.
Haldol.
Haldol.
Halzar?
HALI. HALI.
Yeah, Diane.
DOL. Haloperidol is what we want to look. HALIPERI. Haldol, there you go. Haldol, haloperidol, there you go.
She's got her an African blow dart too.
That sounds like African tree frog. Like that's the one when you're like, I'm like, a what? Is that?
You never hear it coming. All you hear was a.
No, she hasn't been.
Sorry.
Let's just see if it's that one. So yeah, that one is like lithium and knocked her right out.
Those are some pretty heavy hitters.
That's bad.
It's going to depend on what prescription she's on. So again, it's important to find out.
But
the
even
prescription.
with those ones you put in there, it still gave a couple of options.
Yeah. We don't
you
have
know,
America or UHL. Like we didn't opt to
Right.
go with UHL because their rates are through the roof, which sadly, that's what you had
Yeah.
to use at Symmetry if you had a really complicated case with UHL, and their rates were just through the roof.
You can
So-
stick
Well,
with-
again, I don't have to do it right away. She's been without for a long time, but I
It could
am a
also be
firm
the
believer
amount,
because
too.
I've definitely had to deliver policies to first responder families, and I know that, the next day is not guaranteed, so I'd love to get her something. But I gotta find out what her list of medicines are.
So more commonly, it's gonna be like Zyprexa,
Yeah, it does matter the
Lispecol.
coverage amount. Like when I did 20,000 versus 40,000, she has more options.
Yeah, and she did say she just, she doesn't want to have any of us in the family have to pay for a funeral. So that's probably all she needs is, like
Yeah,
a
so
50
I'd say
50.
Lafayette Life or Great Western. Try Lafayette first. I mean, it looks like she's gonna be graded. But it's got 10% interest, so that's where it looks like it's a 3-year graded plan. It's weird. They're usually 2 years when they're graded.
How old is she?
Well, I still have Joy's birthday in there, so
She is 58.
58. We
So
got
I think she's 65, 1965.
so I'm trying to think. I'm like,
I can't do plus in
I
my head.
got-
It's too late. Too late in the day.
that's weird. So when we made her older, she had more options.
I was gonna say,
Wow.
aren't there more there now?
Yeah, like she could go Forester. What, you don't have Foresters right now, but you could go Great Western the level. Like, so it doesn't have to even be graded. It could be
Mi-
level.
Mi- Misty, can you explain that graded again? Like that 1 to 3 year, that just means that
Graded is like how it had, if it's graded, if they pass away, like how that said 1 to 3, if she passes away in the first 3 years, it's
You're just
not
gonna
paying
get the
out the
pre-
20,000. It's paying back 100% of the premiums back, so they get all their money back plus 10%.
okay. And then guaranteed issue, is it the guaranteed
Guaranteed
issue?
issue means it's coverage from
Uh,
day one. It's guaranteed. She can't be denied, but she's gonna pay a lot more because they're guaranteeing it.
So guaranteed is really not just this is your last resort, you can only get guaranteed. Um, I mean, but
Right, yeah.
is that kind of where guaranteed goes? If somebody has health conditions, they know that it's going to be guaranteed, right?
Yeah, if it's major, like you got cancer, you're going in a guaranteed issue plan. You got active
Okay.
cancer, you can cover somebody with active cancer, but they're going in a guaranteed issue plan. But there's so many other agents that have told them, like, if Joy worked at New York Life and they don't have a guaranteed issue plan, they've probably have told her that she's uninsurable. I can't tell you how many people that have came to me and they're like, you're not going to be able to help me. I was told I'm uninsurable. I'm like, who lied to you? I always say that. Who lied to you? Which inexperienced agent were you working with? That silly fool didn't know what they're. I said, you were working with an agent. I'm a broker. That's the difference.
Well, another question, at the last place I was at for those first responders where we had the captive, the Armed Forces benefit one, they could not be diabetic and get it either.
Yep.
They could type 2, they could get some, but type 1 was, even though every type 1 diabetic I've ever met is just
Uninsurance.
chiseled and looks like they're a gladiator. I'm like, well, yeah, but I'm born with it, but nobody would do type 1. I mean, is that still the same? Do we have anyone that does type 1 diabetics?
Very limited. And I asked my cousin who's a pharmacist the other day, because my dad's also diabetic, he's type 2, but I was like, what is it? Why is it? I said, please explain to me, when we were just up in Ohio, because she's a pharmacist. I said, why is it when they see a diabetic, they act like they have 1.5 feet in the ground already? And she goes, well, I have a lot of diabetic clients. She goes, this is why. Diabetes usually will lead to heart issues, which will lead to kidney failure as well. There's a lot of complications that come with diabetes, so you're automatically high risk.
But can you get insured?
You can still get insured though.
Yeah, you can still get insurance.
Yeah.
But type 1, just know type 1 is never going to get a term plan. There's no terms usually that'll take type 1. Foresters, Strong Foundation does take insulin. They're really good. So when you get your Foresters back, Joy, you'll be able to get them from day one. And Sandy and Diane, we had talked about, and Steve, like as soon as you guys are actively like really in the phones, like we're going in order of who is on the phones and who's already, because as you saw, like when they're trying to do everyone, it's too much for contracting. There was too many people they were trying to contract at once. And then I got people coming out of the course, so we just keep adding to the list. So Joy, you just made the cut. Where anyone else like that came in past their course after you, I'm like, you guys are on hold for a minute. Like, give them the option. I'm like, you can go to Symmetry if you want, or you can wait a week or two because we're not contracting anyone else right now. It's your call, like, because I'm not focused on bringing a bunch of new people on.
I got lucky.
Yeah, you really did. You made the cut. There were some
many
people that were
months-
new over there that I told them, hey, because they weren't picking up what I was putting down. I was like, hey, yeah, we have an 18-month non-compete, so I'm not sure who they're going to reassign you. Like the girl who kept changing all the templates on our training portal. About the fourth time I told her, stop editing the ones in the training portal. I'm like, this girl
Is
is
that what that was? I was wondering what that was. Okay, I got it now.
every day she was in there changing, and she's like, I'm not changing the ones in there. I'm like, sending her a screenshot. Why does it have your name on it? I just fixed it yesterday and it has your name on it again. Like you literally changed the signature and the verbiage. And why are you changing the verbiage? Like if we showed you that this works, why are you changing it to begin with? So when she was like,
Right.
oh, and she's like, well, thanks for at least hiring me. Do you know who I'm going to go to? I'm like, I have no clue. They're going to reassign you to somebody, probably Ian. Good luck.
How many months
Well-
are we out? 4 or 6?
So you only have to go 3 months from whenever the last time you wrote a product over there.
Okay.
And it wasn't so much that for you guys, like you wrote some Foresters. So for you, it's going to go, like, I know you wrote the UL. So it's 3 months to 6 months, depending. I think Forrester said they would do 3 months. The 3 months you can be dual enrolled per
Oh.
whatever product. I know Mutual of Omaha was definitely 3 months. Like if you wrote Live and Promise last month, you got to wait 2 more months. Like
This will
Mark
say March,
just
March
cleared all
1st.
his. Perfect.
Okay.
And
I
then,
think
yeah,
my last move was like almost 3 months ago.
yeah. So then, yeah, we'll start getting you girls.
And so for me, I just have to start getting on the phones right, because Kevin and I've already called the carriers and they're like, we got no problem. You've never wrote a policy at SFG, so you could come over now. And I'm like, well, I don't
It
have.
wasn't so much that, it was more of, it's going to raise a lot of red flags if you have 40 agents that all left Symmetry and the same 40 agents all just got appointed with the same carriers at a new IMO. That's a big red flag.
Because
And Symmetry would get that alert.
Because
And
Yeah.
the non-compete with that, it would have been
No,
a
I
red
understand. I understand why, why there was risk to it. I had
Yeah.
a conversation with Adam, so I get it. But no, and that, thanks for clearing that up on the diabetes, because it always used to, they would come in and be like, well, I'd love for you to help me, but you're not gonna be. I'm type 1 diabetic. And I'm like, gosh, darn it.
Yeah.
The guy would look like Arnold Schwarzenegger. I'm like,
Yeah.
goodness.
So
Yeah.
can we look at one that might have cancer 3 years ago,
Yeah.
who had an oophorectomy, removal of an ovary due to cancer? And cancer in 2020.
I think there's even has past cancer. Yep. So
Mhm.
you'll, and then it'll give you a drop down of which one. So you said it was over,
ovarian.
Yep. then it's going to ask, and you said it was 3 years ago?
Mhm.
1, 2, 3. And date of diagnosis, was she
This-
diagnosed same year?
About 6 months before that, maybe.
So we'd say 20.
I have clients going through my head right now that I'm going to try to bring.
She only
'cause I
had it
could-
once. They
Yeah.
asked, did it spread? That's,
No.
I was playing around in this the other day too. Was it beyond stage 1?
I don't know. No,
Like, and then it's going to give us
look at that.
Prosperity. She can Lafayette Life. Like this
And
family. I
that's
don't know
cheaper
what
than
this one is. This is
SDLM.
AIG, but we don't have the AIG back yet, but we will get them back again. But this is the one we couldn't write at Symmetry. At Symmetry, we only had GWIL, the guaranteed. This
Mhm.
is the other one, the SWIL, that we weren't allowed to write for whatever reason.
I thought I remembered you saying like AIG, you didn't like them at the other place.
Oh, I liked AIG better than
Oh.
UHL if you had to go guaranteed issue, because which is why we chose not to bring UHL even over here. Like that was a
Gotcha.
carrier we could have had, but there's no reason, you don't need them because there's so many other better options that there's just, I'm never going to make a client pay more than they have to.
Prosperity is cheaper than what they had. Her quote, I believe, was something like 180 something. It was ridiculous. She's like, I can't afford that. And I'm like,
Yeah, this is for 20,000 right there, age 58.
I think she was 45 maybe. 45, so
1975,
78, 75.
no,
something.
78.
48.
Yeah.
75 is 48. I know that
Yeah.
one because that's
That's
my
how old my
year.
sister is. Her and Moses wrote tablets.
She's
together.
49.
I've
Uh,
heard that. The
Yeah,
yellow
Baltimore Life.
stars, the yellow
Hmm.
stars are the preferred, right?
Yellow Star means that it takes Social Security billing.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
We don't.
Very cool.
Yeah, she could do
Very
the
cool.
Baltimore Life, that a priority one.
Will you add,
You could pre-qualify her. You could go on here and pre-qualify and make sure she's gonna qualify before you run her on an app with them.
The A priority is the proprietary one, right?
Mm-hmm. So that's why I just said she can go
Okay.
on, she can pre-qualify and make sure
Mhm.
to try. But if she doesn't, she looks like she comes in for standard because they actually have her as special. Like
Mhm.
she's not even standard.
She also has a hypothyroid, underactive thyroid. HYPO, or close.
Yeah, hyperthyroidism.
Hypo, low thyroid,
Oh,
HYPO. That's okay. There you go.
let's take off so she doesn't have both. And do we know when? Nope,
About
doesn't
the
even-
same time. About the same time, yeah. Oh, look at
Looks like
that.
she's still good.
Yay. That might be my first client.
Jason and I were saying how many clients we lost over
Oh.
there at that other place because we just didn't have the right carriers, you know?
Yeah.
We were told
Yeah.
we did. We were told we had the best of the best carriers. I was like, my God, we drank way too much Kool-Aid.
And it seems like the carriers that we have now are more actual
Better.
real life people, real life conditions that are going on that we'll be able to treat. And that was,
Right.
that's what some of mine got kicked out for, was like, not thyroid medication, but like, I had one that got kicked out because of COVID. They had COVID and
Yeah.
she got really sick from COVID. And I'm like, but everybody has gotten COVID at some point, more than likely.
Right?
Right.
Almost
Sometimes
Right.
I'm like, is this food bland or is my taste buds still not back? 'Cause to this day, I still can't fully smell. Most
Same.
days, that's a good thing. People are like, what is that smell? I'm like, I don't know. What's it smell like? It smells like shit. I'm like, I don't know. Yeah. So
Yeah. Andre sent me a tequila reference the other day. I'm like, don't go there, brother.
Andre. So those guys were telling me, they're like, are you the one who has the NFL player? I'm like, I do. I have an NFL player on our team. They're like, do you know that they're boasting about him? I'm like, he's not even there anymore. He left. They're like, they're boasting that he's working on all these IUL. I'm like, he is working on a bunch of IUL, but I saw his resignation letter. Like I think I have a screenshot of it. He's not there.
Right.
And they're like,
Well,
they are boasting that they have an NFL player who's going to be writing all these IULs and that they're working on this proprietary IUL. I'm like, actually, I still know the girl who's working on the underwriting for efficiency, Julia that was at SPLI. We keep in touch still. And she's like, yeah, that got pushed back a year. That product's not going to be out for at least another year. She's like, they still can't get the kinks worked out with SPLI. They're not the underwriting.
remember they've got you locked up in jail. So just that's how
Yeah.
they're
Locked up in jail.
I haven't heard that one.
I'm like, nope, I'm good. I don't even have a strike on my license. Now, Kate's license, if you look her up, it's gone already. They yanked her license.
Wow.
I looked her up the other day and I was like, am I just not looking at the right spot? So I looked up Rachel and Marissa. I'm like, no, I'm in the right spot. They yanked her license already. Like, but she's going on like life is normal. Like it even says she's still an agency owner. I'm like, if you'd have told me I would have defended her to the end of the earth. I would have been like, no way. Like, no way.
They're gonna
Um,
keep digging. I'd be surprised if she doesn't get jail time.
well, they're still digging for me. They called John Germain, who hasn't been here for over a year and a half, and he only wrote 2 apps. And he told me, he's like, I got a letter from John Hancock that says I was declined, or my my appointment with them is now canceled. I'm terminated. And he goes, and then I was red flagged. He goes, I don't think I even wrote anything with them. How am I red flagged? I said, I think any of my former agents are getting those.
I
So if you
did.
do get a John Hancock letter, then they're gonna, so he called me yesterday and he goes, I just want to let you know, they just called me too. And they're like, hey, did she ever share her credentials with you? He's like, I said, no. He's like, they're like, did you ever write on her link? And he's like, no. And he's like, I'm not sure what you're looking for, but I never wrote anything with you guys. And they're like, oh, okay, thanks. Like they're fishing hard.
Yeah, they called me. They said they're Misty and Jason swingers, and I said, no, 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 they're not swingers.
There's that sense of humor.
That took a turn to the left.
Nope, we're definitely not swingers either. There was a swinger guy at his station. Jason always felt the need. He's like, yeah, that guy's a swinger. I'm like, why do you keep pointing him out? Do you want to try to swing with them? Because he's not one. He's like, no, I'm just pointing. I'm like, well, it's just weird. You keep pointing it out. And he's like, well, it's weird. I'm like,
Maybe he's curious.
I was like, hey, if that works for them, great. I've never been good at sharing my
Oh.
favorite toy. All my others, yeah, that's fine. But I think you're my favorite toy, so I'm not sharing.
I got a story on that, and you'll know it from Florida. But one of my best friends, a couple across the street, moved just during COVID. They moved down to Florida, and because they're like, well, they work on like automotive. They make not the instructions, but the manuals that they work on. So he said, yeah, we got we can move. We're moving to Florida. We're getting out of Michigan. And I'm tired of Whitmer. Da 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 da. We're going down there. So they moved to Florida. Well, in you would never think it, but she is just in love with pineapples. She's got pineapples everywhere on her house, everything, flamingos, all that stuff. So they moved down.
Perfect.
And I'm like, well, where are you going? And he goes, well, we're moving to the villages. And I'm like, oh, you're moving to the villages. And I said, well, I heard and so I was my wife kind of chuckled a bit, and she goes, you know what the village, about the villages. And I go, no, I really don't. So then she told me, I'm like, okay. I said, so Michelle gonna take all those pineapples and all that down there? He goes, yeah, good. I'm like, all right, good. Let me know how that works. Cause and he cracks me up. So he gets down there and he's moved in about 2 weeks. And he calls me, he's like, what the fuck, dude? He goes, the golf carts, there's swinger parties down here. He goes, it's unbelievable. And he goes, thanks for giving me a heads up on the pineapples. Now we had to throw all the pineapples out, and I just
Some people gotta learn the hard way.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
joke about, what is it, Timber Pines by us, that the Cody restaurant across the street from there. They're like, we were there having dinner. It was probably like 7 years ago. And it was like, all of a sudden, like they just got bombarded by like they bring them over in a bus. And then the bartenders were telling us, they're like, oh my God, there's so much like sexually transmitted diseases over there. They're always
Yeah.
talking about it.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, stay away from that one. They got this, but it's like, oh my God.
We were
Mike,
having so much fun with him because he
yeah,
Googles everything. I'm
there's
like,
some
well,
strange people out there.
you didn't Google that one, but she is such a pineapple. And they are the biggest golf snobs. They golf every day, so they were happy all go. In her golf bag, in her head covers had pineapples
She
on
just
them.
like there. She was paradise. She was
he goes-
tropical paradise when she rolled up.
He goes, yeah, we got rid of that. We were getting
I
approached
always
by
think about this
everybody.
one call that Jason and Mike ran on, and Lynn may have told you guys about this one. The guy died, but Mike, for Diane and Sandy know Mike does not like to wear gloves, and he's always been, it's like one of the things the guys always get on him, Mike, wear gloves, and he's like, I don't like wearing gloves. And then from my understanding, after this call, Mike wished he had gloves on this day. This guy had, I don't even know how he got it in. I didn't even know they made things like this, but there was like a 5-headed dildo, and somehow the guy stuck it up his ass and it hit a vein and he bled to death. And when they were trying to extract it, it literally shot out and Mike caught it in his hands. with no gloves. And I always, to this day, I'm always like, he was like 27 years old. He was a younger guy. And I always, I'm like, I wonder what they told his parents, what the cause of death was to this day. Did you know something, Vinny?
It,
I'm not
So
sure
yeah.
how you would tell somebody's parents that. How could
So that's
you?
what I'm saying. When I say these guys see some
Well,
odd stuff,
You would have
they
to
do. It's
think of
funny
a very
because
creative way.
my one of my sons is an ER nurse over in the west side of Michigan, and he's been in it. He's going on his third year,
Yeah.
starting his third, and the stuff that he came home 2 weeks ago after he got engaged. So he got engaged, and then we were talking about his shift, and I always ask him, well, what have you seen crazy this time? He's like, well, had a guy that came in and had not one, not two, but 3 carrots up you know where that we had to fish out.
see these
And
guys,
I'm
they run some interesting calls.
uh,
So
like crazy.
keep that in mind. Let's go over some like objections you're gonna get when people like when you call. Sometimes people are like, I didn't request that information. We went over that this morning. Because Miriam's like, this is one I've gotten before when she bought symmetry leads. So Diane and Sandy, I know you guys bought symmetry leads. So I don't know if you ran into this, but she was like, I never requested information. I didn't fill that out. I'm like, okay, well, the first part is because you bought symmetry leads. Those were probably 2 years old. So they don't remember. Or it's maybe not even that phone number. That person 2 years ago, we were still in COVID. The person who had that phone number may have passed from COVID and the new number. So, and she was the one I role played with, and she was like, so I get that one a lot. And I'm like, okay. So we let Kevin tackle it first, and it went okay. And then it was like, this is how I would handle it. I'd be like, okay, Sandy. So maybe you don't remember filling it out. It could have been a while ago. If you're doing Facebook or one of the newer leads, the lead should be fresh. So you shouldn't get that as often, but every once in a while I'll get one on Facebook and they're like, I didn't request that. And I'm like, this isn't your email and this isn't your phone number. That's my email and my phone number. Okay, well then maybe you clicked on this by accident. It did have a big like warning first that said, please don't fill this out unless you're looking. I'm like, or maybe your wife did it, or maybe it was your subconscious telling you. And then Miriam threw out, she's like, well, I already have a policy. I'm like, oh, okay, great. I was like, so maybe that was your conscious telling you it's time to review to make sure that what you have. I said, because, in light of COVID, a lot of these carriers have better plans now, or they have living benefits. I'm like, do you have the old insurance or the new insurance? She was like, what? I'm like, do you have the old insurance or new insurance? She's like, what's the difference? I'm like, does your policy pay anything while you're alive? Say you have a stroke and you can't return to work or you can't do daily functions. Does it pay you anything while you're alive? I don't know. Well, maybe that was your conscience telling you we need to review your policy to make sure we have you in the best. I'm like, how much coverage did you take out? She's like 100,000. I'm like, okay, and how long ago did you take that out? She's like, oh, probably 18 years. I'm like, so was it a 20-year term, 30 years? She's like, I think it was 20. I'm like, oh, so you got to replace it in 2 years. So I said we role played. I was like, you're 59. Okay. So yep, it's better we look now. Cause once you hit 60, that threshold changes a lot. And then suddenly we were in a conversation, like she goes, that was way better than anything. But it was like, you deflect, like change the subject. Hey, you have a policy? Okay, great. Let's review it. If I could save you money or get you a better plan, you're open to that, right? Because this is a term, you're going to have to replace it anyhow. And she was like, yeah.
Like, what do you have to lose? If you're golden, if we can't do better than what you have, you're good.
Yep. If they have a work plan, people tell you, oh, I have coverage through work. So then when I role played with her, I was like, what about your husband? Does he need coverage too? And she's like, oh, he has insurance through work. And I was like, okay, what does he have outside of work? She goes, well, nothing. He hasn't through work. I said, is he going to work there forever? I was like, come on, girl. I was like, we're getting you covered to make sure he'd be taken care of. I got to make sure you're taken care of too if something happens to him. And she was like, which just gained me trust with her because I just pointed out, hey, I'm not just looking out for, make sure your husband's covered. I'm looking out to make sure you're covered too. And I said, Miriam, you don't want your husband to be like the 4 or 5 guys I get a week that come to me in a panic when they meet with their benefit coordinator when they're ready to retire and they find out, hey, yeah, this plan, I can take it with me with Cobra rates. because it's going to
Yeah.
go from 150 a month to 1,000, and that is not an exaggeration. I literally used to get probably 3 to 4 guys a week that would be like, call me and fill out the reform, and they're like, yeah, I just met with our benefit coordinator and I'm getting ready to retire, so I'm, you know, trying to get things lined up. I'm not retiring for the next 2 to 3 months. Like, they spit it out real fast. They're like, but I just found out my insurance is going to be $1,000 a month and I can't afford that. And I would be like, breathe, because we got to have you alive to get you in a policy. And I'm like, who can afford $1,000 a month? That's another mortgage. If we're paying $1,000 a month, at least let me help you get in a lake house that I can use every other weekend. Like, crack a joke. And they'd be like, yeah, right. I'd be
Yeah,
like, that's
I-
pretty normal. I'm like, this
like
is why
the-
you're best to set it up before you have coverage. And like I went over with her, when people tell me, oh, he's got coverage through work, I have won so many spouses with, that's great. Take as much coverage through work as you can get, because it's usually pennies on the dollar. So it's extra. But here's why you want your own plan outside of work. Say that Sandy gets diagnosed with cancer and she can't go to work because those radiation, those chemo treatments, you know, a good friend of mine, Rocky, worked from home for Capital One. But man, when she had to go through chemo, you know, and she's only like 41 years old, it kicked her ass. She couldn't get out of bed. She couldn't work. She lost her job. When she lost her job, she lost her benefits. So you don't want to now be diagnosed with cancer and you just lost your work benefits when you need it more than ever. And usually when I tell people that, they're like, oh, I said, I'm married to a fireman. I've seen it firsthand in his department. People who got diagnosed can't go to work, can't even do light duty for the same thing, treatments. By the way, prostate cancer is the #1 cancer for firefighters. Very common, very common. So is throat cancer. So when it's common, you're going to hear firemen say, I got cancer. Great. How long, which kind, and how long ago was your last treatment? Always my first questions. I'm like, and it's fine. I was like, I'm used to married to a fireman. That's why we're retiring him. I don't want him to be a statistic too. So kind of go over that. But then I went down the rabbit hole too. I'm like, you also don't want to come to me when you're ready to retire, because now you're getting ready to be on a fixed income and it's going to be way more expensive. So even if we set your husband up in $100,000 or a final expense plan now while he's younger and healthier, I'm still setting you up. And then if you still want to keep the work one, because again, it's pennies on the dollar as a bonus, great. Usually they're like, oh, well, that makes sense. I never thought of it that way, because most people don't. They think that, oh, I'm like, you know how you have to enroll in your insurance every year at work? It's because you don't own the plan. You're
I like how you said
statistic at
that,
home.
take as much as you can, because it is really cheap, but I tell them to look at it because it happened to me. It's you know, it's temporary. While you're there, you're not going to keep it. It's like, you know, having that rental car, you know, or a company car. When you leave that job, or you
You got to give
can't,
it back.
you got to give it back. And I remember getting that and you're exactly right. I had the option of converting it, taking it with me, but you're right. It did go to like
Couldn't afford
my
it.
Cobra rates. It was unbelievable. I'm like, you kidding me? I mean, it was, no, I can't do that. Well, you can't get the group rate, you know, anymore.
Right.
So
Because you're not part of the
that's-
group anymore. Yeah. Yeah. And then which I always leads me into that intro. So this is where we should talk about your children. This is why that dad that I said this one got sent to underwriting because his dad's paying, because the dad's my client. He put both of his boys in because the dad had major health conditions and it took me a minute to get him covered. And I'm like, Bill, you just saw what we had to go through to get you covered. Your boys are both in their 20s. They're never going to be younger and healthier than they are right now. We should be looking at plans for them too. And he's like, you're 100% right. I don't want my boys to deal with what I'm dealing with. He's like, they both have wives, they both have kids. I'm like, let's get them covered. So, you know, also small kids. When you get the Foresters
that the one-
UL
are the
back, oh
kid-
my God, love that plan.
Yeah. Are the kids paying for those policies, or is he paying for his kids' policies?
He's paying for him.
Okay.
And funny, the one flew through, no problems, no questions asked. The other one, they emailed me back and they're like, why is the dad paying for the policy? And I explained, I said, because the dad is my client as well. He had major health conditions. He saw how difficult it was to have, so he agreed this is important for him. He wants his boys to have this. So he's agreed to pay for it. And they're like, okay. They accepted that. You know, Foresters won't let you do that after a certain age. SBLI like declined my one girl because she was 26 and we listed she was a student. Because I was like, her thing came back and declined and it was blank. And I'm like, why was she declined? She's not on a single prescription. She has no medical. They're like, she's a 26-year-old student. I'm like, so she can't be 26 years old and be a student? Like a doctor is usually 8 years of school minimum plus internship. So that's going to put you at 26. And they're like, I'm like, well, fine, clear out her application and we'll put her as a non-working spouse. They're like, is she married? I'm like, yeah, but you know, you won't let me list her as a student. So we're going to list her as a non-working spouse. And then she got approved. I was like, that's just silly. That's stupid. Some
So
of these,
something I was thinking of, on that, why I didn't mean to fill that out excuse or answer that sometimes people give.
Yep.
Something that I've used that you guys put before was, well, who are you thinking about when you were filling this form out? That's helped me open a lot of different dialogue with clients whenever they're calling saying, hey, I don't have, or I didn't fill that out. Well, who were you thinking about when you did at 2 o'clock in the morning while you're scrolling through Facebook? Who were you thinking about? And that led me to a couple good discussions and a policy for the lady and her son.
yep. Dylan, when he did his qualifying questions this morning, was really good. And, you know, Dylan wrote his first app last week and I didn't help him at all. I didn't help him quote it, nothing. He did it all on his own. And his qualifying was really good when he role played. He was like, hey, you know, Diane, when you requested this, who did you have in mind? Like, obviously you were trying to protect someone that you care about. He's like, who, you know, who was that? And I think it was Carla, the other new girl, was role playing. She goes, well, my kids, I got 4 kids. And he's like, oh yeah, I could definitely make sure. Yeah, see where. And she goes, I'm a single parent. And he goes, I could see where that would be really important to you. Like
Yep.
he was good at bringing that emotion into it. And that does, I was like, that's why you're writing it. Sorry. I was like, that was pretty smooth. So yep, get that
Christy,
in there, that emotional
you-
side.
do you ever have like an older parent that the kids want to get a final expense policy for the how would you do that if because the parent is
So
obviously
the kids can take out a policy on their parents. Like I have policies on both my parents. My parents they prepaid for all of their funeral expenses. But I was like, but guys, we're still gonna do a celebration of life. So we still got flowers we gotta pay for, we still got food, we're gonna have to run a hall for your celebration. My mom's like, I don't want people celebrating. She's like, you know, she's one of those, if they didn't visit me when I'm alive, they don't need to visit me when I'm dead. She's just one of those. I'm like, Mom, it's not about you at that point, it's closure for other people. So again, so there's no arguing. You both have a $10,000 policy. I was like, you also have to remember we have to have your body released. You got to pay for that. So there's no arguing. You both have $10,000 policies that I've taken out on you. I pay for them. I had a guy reach out to me when we were in Michigan. His mom was diagnosed with cancer. She's in her 70s. Or no, she was like, yeah, 79. Sorry, let me let this dog out because she's scratching at my door, driving me nuts. Go, get out.
Diane, did you see the Facebook, the first responder thing happening in Brooksville?
Yeah,
What
that's
do you
what
think
that's what I reached out with Misty to see if she wanted to do that first responders one in Brooksville.
Heck yeah.
Did you send me that today? When did you? You
Just
might
saw
need to
it.
remind me.
I'll
Uh,
send it to you again.
Yeah, but this guy was like, he's a current client and he was like, there's probably not much you can do. She's 79. I was like, actually, no. I was like, I do have a carrier that'll take her. It's guaranteed issue. I said, here's the thing. And I said, this is going to sound really bad. I said, but Frank, you got to look at it as an investment. It's going to cost you $270 a month to get 10,000 on her because of her age and her condition. I said, but you got to look at it like this. She has to live for 2 years. Do you anticipate? It's like, she was just diagnosed. He goes, but she's a feisty thing. I think she would. I said, okay, but even if she doesn't, I said, how much money are you making in the bank? And he goes, I'm not following the dots. I said, what does your bank pay? What's your interest rate? I know I get like a thing that says I just made 8 cents a month. And I'm like, that's it. You're lending my money out for like 27, 30% and I made 8 cents, you know, for almost 6 figures in there. I'm like, that's it. Like, that doesn't seem right. I'm like, so you're making 0.5%, 1%? He's like, yeah. I said, so if I told you that there was a plan that even if mom did pass in the first 2 years, which is that graded that you were asking about, Steve, and you were going to get all your money back, plus you made 10%, is that a value? And he goes, it sounds too good to be true. I was like, ah, I love that. I said, well, that's what the plan I can get your mom is. I said, so as bad as this sounds, you got to look at it as an investment. You can keep putting money in the bank, make 0.5%, 1%. We can take a policy out on mom. If she does pass in the first 2 years, there is no risk to you. You're getting all your money back. Plus you also just made 10%, which you weren't going to make putting your money in the bank. And he was like, all right. He's like, is that the most she can get? I'm like, that is the most she can get. Yes.
Okay, so to do that, you're writing the application in the parents, and then the kids are just paying for it. So you have to qualify the parent as
So
who's
when
getting
you're doing the
qualified.
app, it's going to ask, is the insured the same as the owner? And you're going to select no. You're going to make
Okay.
the kids the owner. And then, it's going to ask you, how's the relationship? Because it has to have insurably interest. So it has to be a family member. Like I can't go take a policy out in Sandy just because, I think Sandy's a horrible driver and I think that there's a 90% chance she's going to, get in a car accident.
Yeah, we've heard that. Diane's told us the stories, so.
So because I'm not related to her, I don't have insurability interest. But because it's a parent, there's insurability interest. So they can definitely, just like a parent can take one out on their children.
So, for example, if my sister and I wanted to take out a policy on my mom,
can.
and it would be one of either me or her, my sister would be the beneficiary,
It would be the owner of the
Yeah.
policy.
be the owner of the policy. Okay.
You can
And
be the
your mom-
beneficiary as well. Like I'm the beneficiary on my parents.
And your mom would need an email address.
Yes.
Okay. All right. She does. I made one. She never uses it, but she does have a Gmail address. Yeah. She doesn't know how to log onto a computer, but yeah, she's got an email address.
Sounds like my mom. My mom is always, sorry, I swallowed wrong. She's always, thinks she's tagging me on Facebook. She's like, you didn't like or comment on my post. I'm like, I didn't even see your post. She's like, I tagged you. I'm like, Mom, was I in bold letters? What do you mean? Is my name bold letters or is it like the rest of the font? No, it's the rest of it, but I put your name. It didn't tag me, Mom. I didn't see it.
Good
No, I
try.
tagged you. I'm like, no, it didn't.
Good try. Loki.
It is good.
God help me when we were up there in Ohio a couple weeks ago. She's like, I want to learn about reels. I looked at my daughter. I'm like, have fun. You teach her. I was like, what do you want to do reels for, Mom? She's like, I see them all
That's
the time.
funny.
I'm like, but what are you going to make? She's like, I just want to know how to do them. I'm like, oh God.
That's the thing. My mom is crazy with the cell phone, and she calls one of the grandkids once a week. How did this happen? And like, I don't know, Grandma. I don't know. What'd you push this time, Grandma? Nothing, yeah, nothing. But I've got to put my mother-in-law to get her to bed. So
Okay.
I've got to get going. So if you keep going, I'll listen to the end of the recording
Okay.
tomorrow.
We'll
But
probably
that
get you
was
guys in
good.
a small group again next week. Keep the same group.
Awesome.
Okay.
Awesome.
Sounds good.
Work on your intros. Like it should flow. Like walk around the house, practice saying it, record yourself and listen to yourself because that when I was new, I would be sitting here, I'd be like, man, I think I sound good. And then I'd listen to my recording. I was like, oh my God. Not ready.
Well, no,
And
it's
sometimes
different.
you
Like
need to hear it.
if you're doing the first responder, advertising and your script is simple. I mean,
I
it's
get tongue
pretty
tied.
it's pretty
Slow
simple.
down.
And again, just remember, I'm having a conversation. They requested this info. They're getting back to you,
Yeah.
and you just need a few bits of information to get them the information they need to make a decision.
Yeah.
And that's
I'll send you guys the one from this morning too, so you can hear that group as well.
Okay.
Because that had Jason's, and it's surprising how different Jason and I are on our intros. He's a lot more blunt, but also good at I'm more like get in there, get that rapport, make a friend. I'm always just, hey, don't go to try to sell anyone, just pick the phone up, make a friend. When I call my people, I talk to them no different than somebody I've known forever. And I look at it that way.
That's
When I
something
worked
that
for
I've heard
Amex, I used to have to call C-level execs, and to me that was intimidating because I was like 20 years old and I was like calling like CEOs, CFOs, presidents of like large corporations like Playboy Mansion. I set up their black cards. That was intimidating when I was talking to their, CFO. I remember to this day, her name was Beth. And But I was like, oh my God, I'm doing the Playboy Mansion. Like, and I was intimidated. And then someone early on told me when I started there, because they're like, I would have my list, and I swear, like between every call, I'd have to pump myself up to pick up the phone. I know that sounds really hard to believe, you know, how I am today, but I would sit there and look at it and I'd be like, I'd have to talk myself into picking up the phone to call them because I was so intimidated because they were such high level execs. And then somebody told me, Misty, they're just people. They're at the end of the day, they're just people. Just pretend like you're calling your dad and talking to your dad. And literally every time I would vision someone, I would literally try to think of by the voice, who does this person sound like that reminds me of? I'd be like, oh yeah, this person reminds me of like Joe. This person reminds me of Steve. So I'm in my mind, having a conversation with Steve. And I set so many business counts up and they were like, how are you doing this? I'm like, I'm just making friends. Just making friends.
Making friends. Just
Right.
And I'm
having,
still to this day, just pick up the phone and go make a friend. That's all you gotta do. Even if you get the
That's
biggest
awesome.
jerk.
All right. I'm gonna get
hang up.
going then. So ladies, see you next week or whenever we do it again.
Hi.
have a good night.
Thanks for all your help. Thanks
Yeah,
for all
you're
your help.
welcome. And I'll send you guys the I'll download this one and send it into YouTube so you can see it, and then I'll include the one from this morning too.
So
I have 3 questions before we go.
Yeah.
First question is, this is Loki, by the way. Loki decided he needs
I'm
to be.
so sorry about your other one.
Oh, thank you. This is my boy. He's 22 pounds.
Yeah, he's the one that's bigger than my dogs.
Yeah. Okay. Do we need to, because there's been talk back and forth and I don't understand what it is. Do we need to do an S corp and an EIN?
No, you do not need an escort. For tax
LLC.
purposes, if you like for more tax breaks, it doesn't hurt to set one up, but you do not have to you don't have to switch all your licenses over. Like our CPA had us set up, and our CPA used to audit for the IRS, which I was really heartbroken because he went back to the IRS to audit. So they gave us a new girl this year, and I'm not as confident about her because she asked me yesterday. She was like, I wonder if we have to do state tax in Michigan since you have a place there too. I said, no, this is not comforting for me to hear that I'm having to explain to my accountant. Thankfully, I know that the large guy that owns the firm double checks everything. And I told her, I said, can you literally just look at how Mike did it last year and just do it the exact same way? Because that was perfect. Like we made like 400,000 and we only paid 20,000 in taxes. So, and I'd like to keep it that way again. And she was like, oh yeah. She's like, oh, I guess that makes sense. Cause she's like, well, you're licensed and you do business there too. I said, I'm licensed in over 40 states. I don't have to pay tax in all 40 states. That's not how this insurance
That was
works.
question number 2. Okay.
I was like, oh yeah. So you don't have to pay taxes in every state either. If you're doing like, if you're writing in Arizona, you're not doing Arizona tax. Your carrier sends you a 1099. So it's all coming through that 1099.
So you just LLC and that's it, not LLC sub corporation S.
Right. Yep. So
Okay.
yeah, if you have an LLC, you're already good. You can do you can do LLC or S corp, or you can just leave it as an individual. You get better tax breaks if you have an S corp or an LLC because you can put a lot of stuff under your business. Like the house in
Right.
Michigan we bought, it's in our
Yeah.
business name, and that's why she's like, she's like, is this for work or personal? I'm like, both. And she was like, oh, okay. Okay. And like I'm not feeling as confident about this new CPA. And
So is it better for you to put everything in a trust?
so for us, the guy that I loved, what he did is he had it set up where I got a $40,000 salary from my S corp. That was what I got personally taxed on. So personally taxed, it looks like I made 40 grand. Looks like Jason made 40 grand. Everything else was business and all the business deduction expenses, which equaled out. We only owed 20,000 when we made 400,000.
Yeah.
That's the perk of having the S corp or the LLC. But like Andre mentioned, he was switching all his licenses. The business licenses are way more expensive. So, and some of them, if you have a business license, it's going to make you do the surplus in certain states. Like I know, was it New Mexico? And I know there's another state for foresters. Like I would never use foresters. I know it was New Mexico and
Massachusetts, you got to have the brotherhood.
yeah, the brotherhood. And I think it was Connecticut. You had to have the surplus line. if
Mhm.
you wanted to write foresters. And I was like, I'm not getting a special license just to write this one plan. I'm not doing that.
I want to be able to get set up to where this is my full time. I want it done. I want to be nice and clean. 6 months.
Just set
So
up an
I
S
wanna-
corp or
Okay.
you can do the S corp online. It's pretty easy process. It's like $200 and then you just renew it every year.
But
Okay.
Andre is in a different tax bracket altogether. He's got like 11
Before that,
businesses, so I totally understand why he's doing that.
Yeah. He owns 5 Zaxby franchises, 52
Yeah.
vending machines, like
a partridge in a pear tree.
Yeah.
yeah, on top of his NFL pension. Yeah, he's got a lot
Yeah,
All
more.
that. So
Yeah,
I
he doesn't even
understand
need to
why-
sell
Little
insurance.
bitty Diane, what is the best route to get things set up the way I need to have it set up?
LLC. Is
Yeah.
that way
Yeah.
I get tax deductions?
I'm wondering if that is why, because my Google business page got declined, stating that it was a falsified company. And I'm like, here's my Florida license.
Because you
Here's
don't have an EIN. Yeah,
insurance.
you need an
Yeah.
EIN. To be a
So-
true business, you need an
Yeah.
EIN.
You've got IRS has it. You just fill in the, it's easy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sundoes.com.
Okay.
Any other questions? Cindy or Joy, you guys are really new.
Nope, just soaking it in.
Just soaking it in.
Now I forget her name.
No questions, no questions here.
Perfect.
Nice meeting you all.
You as well. What is her name? The Ethiopian, gorgeous
Marin.
Mary. Okay, she was saying that everyone on their taxes, everyone does income of 30,000, but when you hit 3 million, that's when you have to like restructure. So I'm
That's-
like, so basically exactly what you said.
Yep. It's all
Okay.
about, yeah, how a good CPA, which they're hard to find.
Yeah.
I had to have my attorney call in a favor for me to get into that firm. And then I was like, yeah. I was like, man, yeah. And I was so excited. And then I sent over my profit loss sheet. Like, he set me up last year. And then they emailed me back. They're like, Mike went back to do IRS auditing, but we're going to assign you to someone else. And I was like, oh, okay. It's like, as long as they just keep us. And then I got this girl and she's like, we have some questions. And I'm like, okay. Called her and I was like, I am not feeling confident about this girl. I feel like I'd be better. Like I always did my taxes before myself. I feel like I'm going to be like trying to do it myself and comparing to see where she's at, or I just was not feeling so confident.
My accountant is in his 70s. He eats tax codes for breakfast. Like the man is freaking brilliant.
That was
But
Mike.
he's kind of get like every year I'm like, I'm waiting for the letter. It says, sorry, I retired. I'm like,
Right. And then it's hard. It took me like
Mm.
I said, I was calling around. I could not find a good, everyone's like, we could do your personal taxes, but we're not doing any more business accounts. I'm like, I can do my personal taxes. I need somebody to do my business taxes. And then I called Matt Foreman. I'm like, Matt, who's your CPA? He's like, Mike Kozowski. I'm like,
Mike
is he
Wazowski.
taking new
Mike
clients?
Wazowski from Monsters Inc.
Sorry. Mike, what happened?
Yeah. And then I couldn't get Mike because Mike wasn't taken, but he gave me Mike, my Grupa and Mike. And, the minute he was like, yeah, he's like, I was an IRS auditor for years. I was like, oh, this guy knows every tax break. I love it even better. And he did. He's like, yeah, I know every loophole. And I was like, I love this guy. This worked out even better. And then he went back to doing
Oh,
auditing. I'm like, can I pay Mike extra? Can you do it on the side? Like, I really want my guy back. We'll
So I
see
need-
how she does, but
So I need to get this, I think I need to take a day off and get all the, I mean, I read it at night, but I'm wore out by this time of day,
I will say I love, for the first time in 3 years, I actually do have that freedom that they talk about that comes with this, because before, I was just nonstop because you had to build, and then be
Mhm.
on a million leadership calls and guest speakers on other team calls and all that. So Jason and I got to go for a walk for the first time in like 3 years. And I was like, this is weird. Like when I have downtime, I'm like, it's weird. I kind of feel lazy. I'm like, there's something I should be doing. So don't be afraid to reach out if you do have questions. My focus is not on building at all. My focus is right now getting all of you ladies up and running at, $30,000, $40,000 a month producers where you're pulling in,
That's the goal.
This is
Isn't
me
it
and the
better?
running man,
and
ready to
then we'll
go.
focus on building.
Like a
That's my
horse
goal.
Ready to go. Is it better to call the carriers and say, hey, this is the situation, this is what's happening? And then that way they'll push me through, or just kind of like, it is what it is.
I will send an email, and let me do it right now, to Adam. You guys on.
And I
Cindy
have a stupid,
enjoys
dumbass
their,
question. Like, sorry, but it's an honest one.
I
What
love
is the
it.
name of our company?
so we're still centered on insurance right now.
Okay,
Jason really likes Palmetto Insurance. I mean, I don't get where he sees a Palmetto coming together with life insurance. I don't see the correlation. And he's like, I think he's fixated on their senior sunshine. I'm like, that makes sense for them. For
Yeah.
our FMO, because they
Florida.
focus on Medicare and it's seniors. That makes sense
Yeah.
for them. I don't want to be focused on Florida. It
Right.
sounds limited. I really like Castle Financial Group. You build it, we protect it. That
Oh.
legacy that you built one brick at a time will layer because you can layer insurance.
Mm.
We
Aw.
protect it.
I like that.
So working on it, and then we have to, get that. As you know, you got to get the domain. You want to buy as many of the domains. That's the other thing, is you want to try to find as many domains and buy all the domains so that if something's close, it's not redirecting somebody that you want to see your site to another site, which is what, like I really loved Legacy Financial Group, but they were like, Jason's like, what if we spell it this way? I'm like, people aren't going to know we spell it different. It's going to send
Yeah.
them right to their website. And then we're basically promoting business for them. I don't want to do that. So we're still working out that name. Once we get our name, that Heartland on the quoting tool will be off and it'll have ours, but I'm still leaning towards Castle.
Like it.
Yep.
Love it.
Then we could release all the weenie dogs as like the dragons. The little tiny dragons. Here comes the Krakens. No.
Diane's cat can beat up my dog because her cat's bigger than my dog.
Oh no, he'll just lay there.
And his little bow ties. He's so cute.
Yeah,
He's so
a lot.
handsome.
He is. He knows it too. He just flipped upside down, Sandy.
Aw.
He like rubbed my belly. Okay, so the next thing was, okay, so you answered the first two questions. The next one is the Sure LC. I don't need to do anything in Sure LC because that's what Adam's company is taking care of for us.
And the Sure LC, you did all your carriers, right? You went in, you did all of your stuff for there. So yep, once you did that, you should start seeing. If you don't start seeing them come in this week, reach out to Adam and ask him, because I know he said there's been some issues with emails because we all, when we all started doing the live chat, and because we all did it at once, some people, I think Sandy, you got locked out of yours for a minute. And so some of the stuff's still going to those emails. I'm trying to think of who I spoke to, and it wasn't any of you guys, but somebody was like, yeah, oh, it was Shonda Crawford. She was like, yeah, I set it up. And then she's like, but then it locked me out. So I just set up a new email. I'm like, that's
Well, I
great.
have-
But did you tell them? Because all your stuff went to the original email.
I
You
have
still got to
3
figure out how to get
now.
in there to get it. She's
1,
like,
2,
oh.
4, 5.
You gotta create a new login for Sure LC.
I have 3 now, and I have 9 that was on my page. Not in addition to the ones I already had. So I filled in that little box, all the ones that I had previously. And then those were the 9 that were marked,
what
and
you
I've
need.
signed contracts for, waiting for writing numbers to come back.
Okay.
So
Yeah. Once you have
Baltimore-
like GTL Prosperity and Baltimore Life, I'd say you're definitely good to hit the phone because you got 2 terms and you've got a whole life.
I need prosperity because I don't have that one.
So
Baltimore.
that one's through Benchmark. Did you do Benchmark? Prosperity came through Benchmark, not. And then was it Great Western? I think it's through Reagan AI.
I have Reagan AI and I have Great Western
Okay.
and I have Guaranteed Trust, but I don't have prosperity and I don't have Benchmark. So let me
You have
make
anything? So, okay, so you may have to shoot Adam a. Hold on, let me look at the spreadsheet too, because he does have a spreadsheet, which
He's
he
gonna
keeps
have to, 'cause
saying,
there's a
he's
lot
like,
of
can
us.
we go over this? Prosperity.
The Great West is Reagan AI.
One of them's Reagan AI. It might not be.
I think Great West is Wellaby.
I have to go and
Quality.
look, to be
Okay.
honest. I haven't
Good Lord, let me put my
keep waiting to
glasses
get
on.
all my carriers, but I've signed on 2/29, I signed for 9 carriers at once. 1, 2.
Yeah, those
that's
were
five.
in Sure LC. I do not see either one of you girls on here for
I don't have any.
prosperity. So we need to get you. I'm adding you. And I know he got on some of his people because I know they dropped the ball on a few things. And I was on the phone with him one day and he was like, I don't care what you're doing. Stop what you're doing right now and get this straightened out. These people should have, like, he's on it.
Yeah. I would love to start writing and to turn everything on, but I don't want to turn everything on until I have something to write with.
Yes, and I spoke to Keith Fonseca too, which I don't know if you guys know Keith. He was the one who ran my recruiting funnel. He was DJ Jet Free Life at Symmetry. So he's coming over too. He also, like Mark, runs Go High Level, but because of his volume with his recruiting funnel, he had offered, instead of paying the $100 a month, if you want to keep Go High Level, he believes he can do it and he can offer it to us free. Under his, because he has such a large account with them and good relationship that he can have unlimited users under him. So
Wow.
I'm like, oh.
You have my attention.
Yeah. How would that affect Mark?
I was like, oh, so more to come on that one.
I don't think I like having my desk here. It's right by the door and these little ants are on my desk and I'm like, why? Ew. Even. I'm too much of an ew girl to live in Florida, to be real. But
Look,
here we are.
I pulled over once because one of those little lizards was in my car and it ran across the dash and freaked me out on I-75. So I pulled over,
I'd have
called
died.
my boss and said, I worked at the university at the time. I was like their financial, analyst. Like I'd help people get their financial aid. And I called her and she's like, I'm sorry, I don't mean to make fun of you, but we listen. She goes, I have company from out of state visiting and we listened to your voicemail like 6 or 7 times to make sure we heard you right. That you're like, I'm sorry, I'm going to be late. There's a lizard in my car and it just ran into my vent and I don't know what to do. I had air spray in my car and I was spraying it in the vent. Like now I realize they're very harmless. I feel bad. That poor thing probably died of suffocation from air freshener, but I was driving and it just ran across the dash and I was like, oh
I would have died.
So I pulled over and was like, hey, I'm going to be late for work because there's a lizard in my car. When the thing, I don't know where to get it out. It's freaking me out. And she was like, we were dying laughing. I'm like, I'm glad I was your good morning humor. But
I even quit wearing flip-flops when we go to like the flea markets and stuff because one time we went and I stepped in like this, it was when I was fresh here. I stepped in a fire ant nest.
oh God, ouch.
Oh, my poor foot.
Yeah, they
Never.
latch on and spin.
I was
Yeah.
like, never again. I don't care if it doesn't match. I'm wearing tennis shoes.
Florida, snakes everywhere. There's a guy who's got reels and it's flip phone activated. What's going on here? Have you seen his?
Yeah.
Like flip phone activated only in
Phone
Florida.
activate.
People
Got
laying out with
nothing.
alligators. That's how you sunbathe here in Florida. You get an alligator. I'm like, what's going on? Like he's just got so many reels, and I'm like, this guy. But they're funny. They're all Florida based. And I'm like, and it's true. That shit happens in Florida.
It really does.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you girls need anything, don't hesitate to reach out seriously, because
Yeah.
I have some downtime and
Just numbers, writing numbers. That's it.
yeah, let's
Yeah.
get your writing numbers and
So I will work on my EIN and my S corp. And then I'm ready to start where I'm good to go. So I just need benchmark prosperity. And then as soon as I get that, and did you try out those what was the name of that lead? Happy Leads? Did you try them out?
I didn't. I was going to, but Dylan pointed out he looked into them and it looks like they're just a Facebook lead. He said somewhere
Oh,
on there, and I'm like, well, I don't need to pay for somebody else's
Razor Ridge.
Facebook lead. Yeah. So Razor Ridge, the guy I interviewed tonight, is one of the top Razor Ridge trainers over at Symmetry. So he was like, oh, I could train more people how to really master the Razor Ridge leads. I'm like, yeah, you could do that. So, and the other guy used to work for Facebook Meta, so he'll be really good at helping people with ads.
You get me out of jail.
That was a 2.5 interview, 2.5 hour interview. I was like, guys, we've been on here 2.5 hours. Like, all right. But they had a pretty good sized team too. So they were looking to make a big switch. So,
Come on over.
yeah.
Gotta get it ready. I'm so ready. Let's hit it.
No. All right. I sent the email to Adam for you guys. And again, Cindy and Joy, you should automatically have all the carriers, the additional ones. So you guys will have a full arsenal. So you guys will have more in yours for onboarding because you'll have Mutual of Omaha, Foresters, and AMM right out the gates. So, and I think AIG was on your guys's too. So. All right.
I'll
if you
keep
need
my,
anything, just
um,
reach out.
Thank you.
All right, guys.
welcome.
I'll send you the
Thank you.
recordings too. All right.
Thank you. Have a
Have a good
good
night.
night.
Guys.